It's Tuesday, and it's drive time, and that can mean only one thing. The American Dream Team here on Siren 107.3 FM.
And that was I Drove All Night by Roy Orbison, who would have celebrated his birthday this week. I think Jodie's got a couple of facts about that song.
Yeah, I just wondered if... I mean, I love this song and I love the music video for it, and I just wondered if anybody knew who the famous actress was who starred with Jason Priestley in the video for this.
How famous?
Oh, she's very famous.
Very famous.
Very famous, yeah.
This should be a quiz question.
He would have been 76. That's going to have been a few years before he died, this song.
Well, let's say Jason Priestley, star of Beverly Hills 90210, was really famous in the 90s, and I think it was a 90s song.
Should have done this as
Blank
a
Faces.
Yeah. This should have been the tiebreaker.
Oh yeah, that should have been the tiebreak question.
Maybe I should save it as the tiebreak question. Okay. No, it was, in fact... star of Labyrinth, Jennifer Connelly.
I love Labyrinth. It's such a strange but wonderful film.
I love the film, yeah.
It's fantastic.
So there you go.
Every week with the American Dream Team.
That's how she started out. So.
Fantastic. So Jodie, we've now got our interview, which you did with...
You're not even going to have a go at pronouncing
JAOQUIN Phoenix. Queen Phoenix, no. DELFIN, JAOQUIN Paris... The third.
Yay!
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, he's a
Best
blogger
name
from
ever.
Chicago. I tracked him down on Twitter. And, I had to chat to him about blogging and various other things.
Fantastic. And here it is.
Okay, so next on the line, calling from Chicago, we have a guy with a rather unusual name, and I hope I'm going to pronounce this correctly. DELFIN JAOQUIN Paris III, are you there?
I'm here. You almost got it right. It's,
almost.
Almost. Maybe it's the British pronunciation of Joaquin, but yeah, you got it.
Okay. The interesting thing is you are the third, so this means there are actually two of you before this?
Actually, no. I am the only one, and my parents just thought it would be funny. So, yeah, there's two more. My dad, who goes by Del, and his father, who... I really don't know because he passed away a long time ago, so I don't know what he went by. But yeah, I'm the third.
Okay, so I'm going to call you Delphin so that I don't have to pronounce the whole thing all the way through, and I hope that's okay with you.
It's unacceptable, but yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, so let's start by discussing how we met, which was through Twitter, which is how I seem to meet a lot of people these days. I don't know what I did before Twitter came into my life. But you have a blog called thoughtsfromparis.com. So tell me, how long have you been writing that?
Well, I started it about a year and a half ago, and I was just writing a few of the stories that I had accumulated about things that had happened to me, and I had a sort of perfectionist mentality when it came to writing. So every story, every word had to be perfect. I'd rewrite things 10 to 20 times. And what happened is so much pressure to write, what I thought everything had to be exact. And the jokes had to punch in a specific way that I was only writing one story every few months. And it just, was sort of just chugging along, and it wasn't something I was doing too seriously. But I knew that if I wanted to make it into anything substantial, then I would need to be writing more often. So about last August, or maybe July or August, I decided I was going to start writing more frequently, and I'm actually now in April, and since January of this year, I've actually been writing every single day. So I try to, I do, I post every single day.
Well, that's amazing because, as I've told you, I have a blog of my own, which I started out writing every day, and then it kind of got to every other day, and then I had a bit of a 4-day break, and now I've had about a 2-week break, and it is very hard to be writing every day, and you're right. I've read some of your blog stories, and they're very funny. You just take very kind of normal things in your life and just, you know, make them into a funny story. But I mean, how important do you think it is for people who, I mean, the bloggers have become very big, you know, in the last couple of years. I mean, do you think there's still a lot of space out there for people to be blogging, to continue blogging?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I attended Blog World in Los Angeles this past year, and that was a concern of mine because there are so many bloggers. But what I found is, and my particular niche is really just writing honest and hopefully funny things that happen to me on a daily basis. And obviously the challenge is to make it entertaining. If I'm going to write every day, it really is kind of difficult to entertain as well as write for myself. So what I've learned as I've been blogging every day is that, you know, I don't have to swing for the fences and hit the home runs every day, but if I can just consistently hit singles and doubles, what I found is that particular niche is really underserved. First, the humor niche in particular, I think, is particularly underserved, whereas, you know, the mom blogger niche is, I don't want to say oversaturated because I think there's always room for great writers, but boy, there's just, I don't know, maybe thousands of those, and there are really just a handful of people that focus on being funny. And so I think if you can carve out a niche, and of course for me, my passion is about comedy, so it's not, you know, there just aren't that many comedy bloggers that I found. So my particular niche, I think, is underserved, but you know, I don't really know that much about other niches. But yeah, I think there's always room because if we think about how sort of cable television has evolved, and you have now, I don't know, probably 1,000 or more channels, and they all serve a smaller audience, but you know, they find their niche. And sort of at the end of the day, if your content isn't good, your audience isn't going to be your audience. They're going to leave. So I think people are always looking for honest and entertaining writers. So I don't know that it could ever be, if there could ever not be enough space for that. So
I was reading about kind of how you originally started a form of blogging, I guess, which is when you used to work for a beer manufacturer and you were travelling around and you would email your friends with stories about the crazy things you were doing. And, you know, you had other people just coming up to you saying, hey, I've been reading your stuff, and you're like, well, you know, I don't know you directly, and I mean, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, this was before, you know, people were reading blogs, and still I would say most of my friends don't probably read blogs on a daily basis. Maybe they read mine, but yeah, this was before all of that, and it was just, you know, this is back in the time when, you know, your grandmother would send you the forward, the email forward that would have some sort of Christian or church message or spiritual thing, and you just instantly delete it. Well, I sort of, my friends were kind of doing the same thing, and, you know, it just became a point where I realized, oh, I'm pretty good at this. And so, you know, it only took me 10 years after that before I started actually writing in a way that was, you know, more current with how people, you know, and basically with a stronger distribution system, which of course is through blogs. So yeah, my regret is that I waited 10 years to do it, which was, you know, something I could have done back then. But yeah, so that's how I started.
Okay, so tell me about, you've started writing for Urban Gentleman magazine. So tell me how you got into that. Yeah,
that's kind of an interesting story. So well, it's interesting to me, but everything's interesting to me about me. So you're going to have to interrupt me when I get too long-winded because I could talk about this all day. But basically, I was approached. One of my earliest readers was a producer out in Hollywood, and she just became like a really, really big supporter of mine and really passed my information along to a lot of different places. And one of her friends started this magazine, Urban Gentleman, which is still relatively new. They may only have, I don't know that they've even been publishing for over a year now, but it's somebody that I reached out, or no, I'm not sure if I reached out to her or if she reached out to me, but either way we connected, and I said, I've never really published for a magazine, and my initial idea was to create a funny column, and then their magazine doesn't, as it is currently, doesn't really support that type of format. So she said, well, I don't know that I can have you come in to do a regular column with your personality per se, but, would you like to just write some articles? So, it's just that opportunity. And then I've actually been had some other opportunities open up for writing that just has been a result. But yeah, it's actually through, I met you through Twitter. I met her through my blog. I've met my girlfriend through my blog. There have just been, because of the global distribution of blogs, there's been just really kind of fun things that have happened, such as writing for this magazine.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, how you say that. I mean, I have to say I do work a lot on finding guests for the show, and most of them have come through Twitter, but I think that's a great thing because I only just started using Twitter back in November, and I have to say I've become a bit addicted to it since then. But it's a great way of meeting people and a great way of finding out what people are doing in life, and especially people out in the States, which we are the American Dream Team, and we love America. We love finding out what people in America are doing, and Twitter's definitely a great way of finding that out. I mean, going back to Urban Gentleman magazine, I have to say I was rather impressed to see a rather gorgeous picture of Adam Rodriguez, who plays CSI Miami's Eric Delco, on the cover of the spring 2012 cover. So, we're not just talking any old magazine here. This is, one of primetime television's big stars on the front cover.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been assigned for the next issue to interview a big celebrity in either music, movies, or television, and the publisher said, I want you to interview a big celebrity. And then she said, I've got a few ideas, I've got a few contacts, but, I'd be interested if you could find somebody on your own, just because that's interviewing somebody, I think, in this particular format won't really be that difficult, but finding somebody, I think, since I know nobody that has any sort of, famous, quality, and I'm here in Chicago, and, I'm not out in, out Los Angeles. So I reached out to all of my readers, and I said, somebody's got to know somebody. And I did a blog post about, who do you know? I want to interview somebody. And I got a lot of, low-level celebrities, people that probably wouldn't make the cut, but nobody knew anyone. The funniest one I think I got was, I got a lot of people I'd never heard of. There was that. And then I got, in fact, I think it's on my blog. I don't remember if the person emailed me or not, but I think it's on my blog where she said, well, I know the guy who played Darth Vader. I think he's a British guy, actually. The guy who played Darth Vader used to visit my mom, somehow knows my mom, and my mom's, I think, in a nursing home, and he actually comes once in a while and visits. And it was just such an unusual reference, and I said, well, that's very sweet that he does that, but I don't think the rest of the world gives about the guy who played Darth Vader. But it's just funny. So no, I have nobody on my list right now. I'm going to reach out to a few of my contacts and try to get somebody big, but who knows.
Well, we'll appeal to all of our fans at the American Dream Team. If you know anybody famous that DELFIN can interview, then please do let us know. Who knows? We might find you somebody famous. So
I'm really looking for somebody new to stalk as well, because I don't have anyone for 2012, so that would be kind of nice.
Yeah, well, I've been stalking Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, hoping to get him on the show at some point, but he won't return my calls or my my tweets or anything.